The other thing that I wanted to share with you that I'm quite excited about is this new translation. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, these sutras, and if you can't see this, don't worry about it. This will be on the website under suggested reading. This is a very ancient sutra called the Prachabinja Aradam from the Kashmir Shaivism cosmology. There's many translations of this, but what tends to happen with sutras, a sutra in the ancient text is just a very short 1 or 2 lines that expresses just a vast amount of sharing. But typically the commentaries then are just lengthy and complicated. So I've been through this in other commentaries and they're just very dense. This man's name is Peter Brown, and he's just let's just say he's the real deal. And this is just out, this lovely, very short, only 20 sutras. But the beautiful thing about it is that his commentaries are very concise and very accurate. And you know, for the study of yoga, I do believe that this is just a complete container for what yoga is really about. So if you're interested, this is now available, Peter Brown, the Prachabinja Aradam. And then the third thing I would just like to share with you, because we're going to start this afternoon's class into the digestive system. So a few days ago, I decided to do a water fast. I was going to do just a 24-hour fast, and it wound up being closer to 48 hours. And what was interesting about it is my intention was not sort of approach the fast from a physical place, from a nutritional place, but I was more interested in exploring sort of the boundary of my emotional state. So allowing my system to quiet down a bit and only having water, what was just so incredibly fascinating, 2 things I'll just share with you. One was the extremely thin veil between the feeling, the actual feeling of being physical and all these emotional impulses that are woven in and around the physical. And also the sort of the understanding comes that when these emotional impulses start to arise, the incredible relationship they have to food and the digestive system. And I'm sure, you know, many of you know this. I'm just sharing this because my focus was more on the sort of emotional content as opposed to the physical content. And in addition to that, the second thing I want to share is how I was able to get in touch with this intelligence, this wisdom that is very apparent in the digestive area. So just even after 12 hours of no food and just water, the intellect tends to sort of fuzz over. And not a lot you really need to think about because it's a sort of disoriented state. But the body starts to vibrate in a different way, and the emotions become closer and closer to the surface. So you're more navigating from this sort of somatic, emotional place. And it was just very informing for me. So I decided we'll start today's practice with a little moving into this digestive area and begin to listen to it. Another meditation of yoga. also to say it's a very, it can be a very non-linear journey to allow yourself to clean out that way and just, feel the nourishment of water that so much of our time and our space has a rhythm of eating. Yes, the physical sense of hunger, the emotions that are always there, but we can then eat something. So I'll just give you an example that at some point I was just lying on the couch and I was just crying, and Rose came in and she goes, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I want a bag of potato chips." So I thought that was kind of non-linear because I was just crying because I wasn't allowing myself to have potato chips. So I think you get the point. So let's come on up, please, and let's get the, if you do have a large bolster, so we're continually using substitutes if you don't have the bolstering that we're usually working with. So the large bolster would be great, but if you don't have the large bolster, let's come up with a couple of pillows. And depending on your pillows, you might even want to add a towel on top of the pillows. So I do, this looks a little high. What happens is the pillows are not as firm, but I think once we come on it, this is almost the same. But you get the idea. The beauty of the bolsters is that they have a certain firmness to them. So if you are going to continue this practice, it may be worthwhile to get the bolster. So I'm going to show it with the bolster, but use whatever you have. And then very simple, what I'm going to suggest is to come over the bolster and just place your lower belly right on top of the bolster and just lie over it. So you may want a blanket to put your head on. So what I'll just simply do is place this big bolster under my lower belly. Let the legs relax out and then just come over it. So even on my forearms, you may want to stay on your forearms for a bit to feel safe with this compression, to check in if you need to use the bathroom or if there's any queasiness. Hopefully you didn't just have a late lunch. And then when you're able to, if you're able to, let your body relax down. You can just put either left ear or right ear on a blanket or something soft, a towel, and just really allow the weight of the midsection to press into this bolstering. And just start as much as you can with just allowing the physical sensations to be present. So sometimes this level of discomfort can trigger a bit of nausea or immediately maybe there's some emotional content that wants to arise, which is all fine. But what I'm suggesting is the possibility of just being grounded in the physical, even if it's uncomfortable. So we're compressing in to make contact with this. So we're making contact with the sensations that feel physical, but we're also making contact with what might be holding in the language of discomfort. So really allow yourself to relax. No need to to figure out or do anything. We're not interested in any technique here. and let me just be very clear about that. And this is really part of the yoga. Part of yoga is that we're not interested in any technique. So allow yourself to open up even a little bit more, and just allow anything that I say to be a very light background. And if the body-mind is receptive, it may receive something that may register, but it doesn't need to. So you're leaning into places that don't need technique, that don't need explanation, that don't need analysis. You're just leaning into yourself in a way. And then open up just a bit of exploration to the possibility of this particular area of your body, that it has an incredible emotional intelligence, and the possibility that sometimes this emotional intelligence is repressed by possibly eating the wrong foods at the wrong time, possibly eating too much food when the nutritional needs are very different from the emotional needs. So very, very complicated, this area, because it's very deep, and it can often get very separated from the upper centers of the higher intellect, you might say. So the invitation to this inquiry is, as much as you're able to, just open up a little bit of space to appreciate the vast emotional intelligence of this part of the body, and just to appreciate it. Any discomfort that you possibly can't even locate because it's woven into tissues, it's woven into the fabric of the intestines. Anything that feels a bit heavy, that has a vague density to it. And also just exploring your commitment to, to learning from areas of your body that you might not have the clearest connection to. So one of the reasons we do the yoga is to open up more pathways of experience, more pathways of connection. So this is precisely why we move slowly, we move meditatively, because we're interested in letting the body itself know. We're interested in letting the intelligence of the intestines and the wisdom of the belly to inform us. So just a very openness to learning. Good. So from here, if you still have the body flat, the upper body flat on the floor, let's then come up to the forearms. And let's just stay here for a bit. So now we can alleviate some of that belly compression and come into the lumbar a bit. And just have a little bit of movement with the hips. Just let them sway back and forth. And we'll still just try to keep the the awareness in this digestive area. And then to make it easy, instead of coming off and coming back on, what I'd like to suggest now is to just simply roll over on either your blankets and pillows or your bolster, and just right where we were, we'll just reverse it. So now we have this bolstering in the back of the pelvis. And when the upper body feels nice and stable, let the legs relax out. You can let them open a little bit. So do make sure you're not, especially if you have the blankets and pillows, please make sure that you're not in the lower back quite yet. We want to just be on that pelvic area. So just a little bit up from the tailbone, the sacral area, not the lower lumbar. You may feel a little in the lower lumbar if your bolstering is too broad, but you can, you can kind of pull that in a bit. And then we're just allowing both legs to be relaxed out, both knees straight so they're not bent, the legs just a little bit past hip width distance, and just feeling this transfer of energy. Yeah, so still we have access to this, this digestive area, but now we're compressing obviously from the other side of the body. So just let's acclimate to this for a bit. So now let's just allow the breath itself to slowly fill up the lower belly. And when you feel like it's as full as it can be, just hold it for a few breaths. And again, explore any contraction, tension as from an emotional content, not from a linear content. So often this is an area, again, it's very dark and deep and labyrinth-like. So we're wanting to just feel texture and almost energetic. It's not so much anatomical and we're feeling specific places, but just what does it feel like when you press into the belly with the breath and hold it and feel it, and then just naturally release it. And again, keeping in mind that this is always, first and foremost, this is an investigation. It's always, yoga is an investigation into the nature of your experience as it is occurring. And notice if you're allowing this to happen with a very relaxed breath. So oftentimes the tension of the body can reflect tension in the breathing. Tension in the breathing will reflect tension in the body. So see if you can just smooth all of that out. Relax a bit more. Again, you're just investigating, you're just exploring. You're just receiving the moment-to-moment raw data from your body, nothing else to do. And then with keeping that left leg extended, just draw the right leg up and place that right foot up under that left thigh and let that right knee relax to the right. So this is a lovely hip opener. So left leg stays relaxed out. We'll pull that right foot up, bend the right knee, and we'll place that right foot under. I mean, it can be under the other knee, but the higher up it comes, it's nice because then that weight of that right thigh just pulls into that right hip flexor. And this may be something to be cautious of. You know, Francis was mentioning, sciatica type conditions. If you're feeling any of that, you may want to back off a little bit on this and not pull the leg up so much and let it come down, because this, as it's pulling on the hip flexor, it's also tightening the two major glute muscles, which are that is tightening into the piriformis. Ultimately, this can help to loosen that area, but when we're dealing with injury, we always want to back off and have our approach be, even more sensitive and unique and personal to us. And then let's extend the right leg out. Let that right hip release as much as it needs to. And then we'll keep the right leg out. And when you're ready, we'll slowly bring that left leg up. And so again, I'm just recommending you to place it under the right thigh or somewhere whereabouts. You can ease it. If you bring it down, you can even put the foot on the side of the right calf. This will lessen that glute tension somewhat. So just kind of play with it's a fairly significant weight that we're allowing to go off to the left here. So even if you need to put something under it, really feel like you can control and modulate it as much as you need to. and certainly this control and modulation is very important to feel safe in the pose. If we want to work with these, aspects of discomfort and contraction, we must feel safe in order to do that effectively. But also to start to really develop an understanding that what we're really developing is sensitivity and clarity. And this essentially is really our yoga. The yoga is not these, these positions we put the body in. We're putting these bodies in these positions to then allow ourselves a very deep and authentic exploration of sensitivity and clarity. Because under the surface, when we really start to get into the mystery and the awe of this aliveness, no one can guide us there. No one can take us there. This is such a personal, heartbeat by heartbeat and breath by breath journey that our guide is really the sensitivity and this clarity. And then really at some point, we just sit in awe. We just sit in just such awe that we are alive. And we have this amazing system of connectivity and quantum communication. So we can relax that leg out now, if you will. And then good here to bend both knees and put the feet on the floor and just have some safe, intuitive movement. So you can bring the hips up a bit, side to side, knees to the chest, especially after we were over into the belly directly, now in this pelvic area and into the hips. Wow, let's take our time to ease out and allow the chi to dissipate a bit, to distribute evenly. And then when you feel ready, let's come off of this bolstering and just come to some place comfortable. And we'll take a rest for a few moments. This is one of the things that I love and why I was excited to share with you this new translation of this Pratyabhana, because it's so incredibly clear and it's so incredibly simple. So this is a text that comes from, I think it comes from like the 9th century. So incredible that we're able to continue this tradition of yoga that has, its roots and seeds were planted centuries ago. And it has not complicated. It's not become more esoteric. It's rooted in the simplicity, the clarity, and the sensitivity of our direct experience. Because I've come to see, at least for myself, yes, that things are very strange. There's a strangeness to being alive. And to me, that represents a sense of spirituality when we just can see that, wow, things are very strange when we slow down enough to really examine what's happening directly, the actual experience in front of us. And then to be able to just accept that, this opens up even more space. So this is the foundation. The foundation of yoga is sensitivity and clarity. Breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, asana by asana. So let us come on up, please. And this next forward bend, I want to first go a little bit more deeply into the upper spine. This can have some intensity. So I just want to show this from the side first, and I'll also explain it. And then we'll set up the lower body, and I'll face forward. Because please listen carefully to this. Two things that are important. So what we're going to do, once we set up the forward bend and we have a straight spine, we're just going to simply allow the head to relax down. Yeah. Now this may be enough for you, especially if you're having neck injury, sensitivity kind of things. We'll just use the weight of the skull. If you're feeling the willingness to go a little bit deeper, we're going to take both hands, interlock the fingers, and place the hands on the back of the head. Yeah, so if I release my thumbs are on my neck here, not the top of the head, because they'll just slip off. So the back part of the skull, and then I'm just going to relax my arms down and not pull at all. I'm just allowing the weight of the arms is plenty. So just allow the weight of the arms to bring the skull down a little bit deeper. Chin is tucked in, and we haven't even gone forward yet. We're just going to stay here for a bit. So just the weight of the arms. So that's what we'll do with the upper body. A few choices for the lower body. So now I'm just starting with both legs extended out. And I'm going to take the right leg and bring it, no, excuse me, I'm going to take the left leg and bring it under the right leg. And then we're going to pull that, just tug that foot back towards the right hip. The left foot, yeah. Then the right leg is going to come up and over. So we're in a, what we call a shoelace position. Now I'm bringing the right foot towards that left hip, yeah? So this, as you can see, my knees are not aligned. They don't have to be. For my hips, this is really plenty. If you wanted to deepen this hip opener, you could come forward a bit, loosen the hips up, bring the knees together, and then sit back down. Yeah, so this just tightened it for me. No problem there. So this is position number one. If this is a little bit too much for you, just release that bottom leg. So the left leg is extended, the right leg is up and over. This is the half position. And then we'll do the same thing. So either position is lovely for the hips. So we'll sit in the position and then relax the shoulders, please. And then without coming forward, not coming forward yet, just let the head relax down. The weight of the head, the weight of your skull. So it's nice and relaxed. It's a nice range of motion. Then the choice, either stay here, again, if you're dealing with sensitivity, or if you would like to take the hands and interlock the fingers and place the hands on the back of the head. Yeah, so if you extend the thumbs out, the thumb shouldn't touch the back of the head. That means the hands are too high. Have the hands on the back of the head. Then when you extend the thumbs out, they're touching the back of the neck. And then allow the elbows to relax in. Do not, I repeat, do not pull at all. Just trust that the weight of the arms is enough to take you in deeper. And you may find there may be a tendency, it could even be unconscious, that you start to pull a little bit. Resist that tendency and just let the weight of the arms allow you to sink into this area. We want to go slowly and carefully. if the volume of your inner narrative is, a bit noisy, this is not sensitivity and clarity. So just very slowly allow the internal volume to just slow a bit and bring your awareness closer into what you're feeling emotionally, feeling somatically, even feeling mentally. Start to look at the thoughts as sensations. Thoughts have an energy to them, just like the emotions and the physicality. So we want to slow down. We want to relax inward and really explore this sensitivity and this clarity. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just let the hands relax off the back of the head. And then put your hands on the floor behind you a bit, just for support, really, and just bring the head up. And just notice what's there, nice and slow, and just let it go wherever it will go. So it may not seem like a lot, but the weight of the arms, for me anyway, that's quite a bit of compression in my shoulders and my upper spine, up into the base of the skull. So just move it around, move it around. And then let's start to come forward. And so what I mean by forward is not necessarily leaning out and forward to try to bring the forehead to the floor. Nothing wrong with this. This is going to tighten the knees quite a bit. Just a nice gentle forward bend inward, almost as if you're putting the forehead on the right knee. You could put the hands out in front to, again, control the weight of the upper body. You could put bolster or pillow in front to put the hands on. It really depends on how your hips are reacting to this. So you can withdraw a little bit. You can deepen in a little bit. So just find a spot that you can soften in and continue this. Another way to say what I've been talking about is that yoga is really a new way to be with your energies, a new way to be with your energies without any rules and without any laws. You just go right to the root of what is this energetic experience. And this is a way that we can start to break up some of our programming and some of our conditioning. Because often what we find is that the energy as it arises, it starts to react to the habits of the mind. The habits of the mind that immediately superimpose a story, a narrative, a memory. So what the yoga is saying is go to the root of the energy, go to the root of the vibration, and start to explore yourself in a new way. So then the energies of the physical, the energies of the emotional, the energy of thought itself, they get blended and they get vague. And then we have the opportunity to explore this, this life force. Yes, this is pranayama, breathing, life force, experience. So let's come on up from here. And then just one more, let's have some movement. So yes, with the head, but let's take the body to the left in a bit of a sitting twist. We won't do this for too long because this is a lot of muscular energy, but just to kind of move it all about. And then you can bring the chin over that left shoulder a bit and extend into that area. And then we'll go to the right side as well. So we're still sitting with the lower body as we placed it. We're just twisting. You can put the right hand back of you and allow the chin to come over the right shoulder now. Let's come back to center. And let's open the legs out to a little past hip width. And let's come forward. So this is just a natural, this is exactly what the hips want. They want to release. We want to now take the lumbar spine a little bit deeper. So again, if you're dealing with any sciatic-like symptoms or even suspicion of, you can put something under the knees, yeah, to lessen the compression of the hamstring. You can put something out in front of you to modulate how much upper body weight is allowed to pull into the back and the back of the legs. Or you could just sink down right to your forehead. Be careful of your nose if you go that deep. And if you notice, there's nothing that I'm saying that you need to believe. There's nothing that I'm saying that is involved with cause and effect, that if you do this, that will happen. What I'm saying is when you start to approach and feel and experience your energy, notice what you do with that. And if you are coming from a place of habit, if you're always doing the same thing, if you're always responding, explore that. See if you take the label away, if you take the definition away, if you take the conditioned response away, what does it feel like? There's no technique here. This is for you to experience the movement of energy as you're experiencing it. Let your breath be fluid. Let it be lengthy and slow. And let it be deep. So let's come on up from here, please. And let's lie down and take a rest after all of that. Let's just call it hip stuff. So let's rest for a bit. And I just want to go back to something that I said. I do realize sometimes I just say something in passing, and then it's I think it's worth slowing down into it a little bit more to really explore it. And again, really just receiving these words is just very light background, and if something does resonate, then it will, and no need to analyze it or even apply it. Yes, the foundation always is relaxing, is sinking inward. And what's happening at the surface really is a little consequence. But what I mentioned is thought energy. Yes, starting to see that our thoughts themselves have some kind of presence, have some kind of sensation. So often we can feel the somatic sensation. It's like, ow, I feel that. There it is. I want to fix that. But the thoughts are almost like the northern lights. It's very trippy, really, to just be able to have these thoughts coming and going. But the presence of them, the sensation of them, has a vibrational rippling effect through the soma, not only physically, but also a reverberation emotionally. So this is what I mean about the sensitivity and the clarity. We're not interested in the content of the thinking. We're interested in the fact that you can think. What is this energy? What is this thought energy that we can't quite grasp, but it's affecting us, and it's rippling, and it's affecting, and it's triggering, and it's very strange. So let's come on up, if you will, and let's do the other side of this lovely forward bend. And again, I won't show it again, but just I'll remind us again that we're going to, if you're indeed doing this, the interlocked fingers will be on the back of the head, not the top. Yep, the back of the head. So it just can feel relaxed, and not, we have to, if we put them on the top of the head, there's a holding that happens, and we're subtly compressing the skull into the cervical spine, and we don't want that. So this time we will, let's see, we have this one this way. We have we'll extend the right leg out, yeah, and bring the left up and over. No, I think the other way. Extend the left one out, yes, and bring the right up and over. I think, left and right. And then we'll bring this left one back You know, I can't remember. So you're on your own making this. I think this is what we did the last time. Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Pick a side. And then if you're going to stay in this position, good. If you want to go to the half position, let the left leg relax out, come forward. Yeah, I think it was the other way. But right now, you're probably as lost as me. So either way that you'll have a position, and then let's relax the spine first. So if we're leaning forward a bit, not so good for this. We want to have the shoulders pretty much over the hips, the spine feeling elongated, and then just very naturally let the weight of the head tuck in and down. Yeah, and again, this may be plenty for you. You know about how long we're going to hold this. If you want to add the compression of the weight of the arms, interlock the fingers, put them on the back of the head, let the elbows relax in, and then we're just using just the weight. Avoid the temptation to pull. Also, since we're doing the second side and we may be a little deeper here, if you want to have some subtle movement of the head going side to side, that can be very lovely. But again, don't be tempted to pull into it. Just be satisfied with the weight of the arms. It's really the time that draws us in deeper, not the forced compression. But a little bit of movement to the chin would go to the left, the chin would go to the right. And then if you feel something, slow down even more and allow yourself to get really close to it. The exploration of the presence of thought energy. So in order to do that, and in order to enter that exploration, we first have to start to lose interest in the content. The content, very different. The content will just whirl us away. The content will allow us to create these fantasies. But the reality of the energy is what we're interested in exploring. Content is always available. The movement, the presence of the energy, this is something that we're holding space to explore. Good. So again, let's first release the arms. And then just come up very, very slowly. Yeah, so we're coming up slowly now. And you can put the arms behind you or to your side even, I just want you to be supported. You can come up on your fingertips if you like. And then just a slow roll, just feeling this compression, this contraction, this opening, this complication. Especially into the shoulder girdles, where the arm and the shoulder and the scapula and the clavicle, this is just complicated territory. And that tension tends to spiral up into the neck, into the shoulders and the base of the skull. So just kind of feel the whole symphony of the expression of your body. And then let's bring the head back to a straight spine. We'll tuck the chin down and we'll start to come down and in. A little bit forward, but you can come forward, but be careful of the knees. You can put the hands on the floor or however you bolstered the last time. Do try to relax the intrinsic muscles of the lower back. It's almost like the muscles are a sort of a sponge, you might say, and the fascia is a netting, a webbing, and it's a complicated relationship between the sponge and the netting. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to first relax the sponge so it doesn't compress, contract, and then ease into the netting. So it's nice and slow, nice and easy. Too deep, come out a little bit. Not deep enough, relax in a little bit. Good. So let's come on once again. And let's just, again, hold this. And once you've unraveled a bit and you come back to a straight spine, instead of the twist, if you'd like to just lean on the right hand and bring the left arm up and over and just do a lateral flexion of the spine. This can be really nice here too. Yeah, try not to lean too much forward into it. If you can keep the shoulders relatively even with the hips, you can extend the arm out, stretch it down a bit, and then just come on up, and we'll do the other side of that. So the right arm up and over. Just feeling just a very discrete separation in each and every rib. And then let's come on up and let's open the legs out once again to continue our forward bend. And again, the option is always to place something under the knees if it's a little tight in the back of the legs. I mean, you don't need to if you want to explore that. It's an option. You could also sit up on the tip of something to tilt forward or have some weight to support the upper body. And one of the things that I was trying to express when I was just, describing my water fast to you, is what I was really interested in is the exact same thing that we're interested in when we come into a yoga asana, is we're interested in exploring the discomfort. We're honoring and recognizing that discomfort has some guidance for us, some feedback for us, and it's very important, it's very valid. So what I was exploring is that these emotions that reside below the surface, because I have a very intricate way of keeping them at bay with food, I was really interested, again, not so much in the content of the emotion, but the discomfort of the emotion. What is this discomfort that is just arising, not from the pain in my knee or my sore lower back, but at an emotional texture? And then certainly content wants to come in and wants to be fixed, and that's a very valid exploration. But again, just like I'm saying, the energies of thoughts, the energies of emotions, and how can we feel safe to lean into these energies, to explore energies in new ways. So we're not scanning for problems. So this can sometimes be a misunderstanding. We're not going in and scanning for what's not right, what's this. What we're really wanting to do is relax and open, become sensitive and clear, and feel these energies. Because actual suffering only exists in our concepts. So we're not interested in concepts. We're not interested in theories or philosophies. We're interested in the rawness of these energies, the texture, the aliveness, the movement of these energies. Good, so let us come on up, please, if you will. And let's lie down and let's take another rest. And maybe say a few nice things to your hips after all of that. And this is a distinction that I have made before, but I always think it's worthy to explore, because I think sometimes one of the reasons that this clarity and the sensitivity is rather challenging to develop is because we confuse, or we can confuse modalities. So we can often have a hard time separating them, and then we can have a hard time seeing how they inform each other and overlap. So the modality of yoga is primarily concerned with our flow. Yoga is just about our flow. How are we feeling at the level of these energies? How are we feeling with our capacity to receive light and love and express light and love? How are we feeling in terms of this, the aliveness that's moving, the hydration and the fluidity of the body, just our flow. So at an essential place, it's not therapy and it's not spiritual practice, but these things can inform. Yes, so sometimes we want to separate the flow and we want to go into a therapeutic practice. We want to explore something that we can look at concretely. And then often the thing we discover from the therapeutics informs our sense of flow, or sometimes our sense of flow can inform our therapeutic work. Same thing with spiritual practice. Spiritual practice being essentially something we can't really put into words or imagery. We just sit in deep silence and quiet. And sometimes our spiritual practice informs our therapy and our flow, our yoga. Sometimes our therapy and our yoga informs our spiritual practice. So it's lovely to be able to mesh them out, but it's also lovely to be able to mesh them together. But when we come into asana, primarily we're considering that sense of flow. And when I say therapy, therapy, yoga, spiritual practice, therapy it has obviously a wide range. Sometimes it's physical therapy, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's psychological therapy. So to know what modality we're in can often give us a great freedom. And then how we combine them or how we separate them can also give us a great freedom. Okay, so let's come on up. And I want to get into the lumbar just very directly with a sort of a moderate amount of compression. So what I've done is I've made this contraption with the small bolster. So the small bolster really is perfect for this, but I'll show how to do it without that. But let's show how to get into it with the small bolster first. And then when you build it without it, you get into it the same way. I've also put a little blanket at the head in case the neck is pinching a little bit. It would be good to bring it up some. So I'll show that as well. So what I've done is I've just rolled up a blanket and I've placed a small bolster vertically over it. So only the end of the bolster is touching the floor. So it's not halfway. It's just to really reproduce and the curve of the lumbar spine. So we're going to fit the lumbar right in this curve that we've made with the bolster. Then we'll sit on the floor in front of this. And again, the bolster is going from the lower spine all the way up to the base of the spine, not side to side. Good to keep the feet on the floor because you may need to unroll that blanket a little bit if this is too compressive, yeah? And then as you're bringing the upper body down, see how it's going for the head. Even if the head's on the other end of the bolster, right now I want the blanket, so I don't want that pinching in the neck. So I'm going to put that blanket there. And then we're going to let the legs relax out. The buttocks will stay on the floor. One of the things with this blanket, after some time of relaxing, you may want to explore pulling the blanket out and seeing then if the whole length of the spine can relax. So sometimes it's just the initial contraction of the upper spine, and then after some time you may want to bring it back. Very tricky area, and we were just there in those forward bends, so do as you will. Yeah, okay, so that's if you have the bolster. If you don't have the bolster, then what I would do is I would make a roll. I'll just tell you what I have done is I've made a roll with my towel, and then I'm going to take my blanket and I'm going to fold it up so it looks like that bolster. So I'm folding a blanket, as you maybe can see here, yeah, a couple of times. So I've made a blanket that is pretty much even with this bolster. And then the same thing, I'm going to take the folded blanket, put it over the rolled towel, and then the same thing. I haven't tried this yet, so let's see if it's compatible. So sitting on the floor, tucking that in, feeling it fill the hollow of the lumbar curve. Oh yeah, it's a little deep, but you could bring that towel down a bit. Wow, it's even deeper. So I would pull something in from my head and then just try it. Oh yeah, I'd like to just stay right here with you, but I might doze off and then won't be here too long. So I'll come up. Okay, so either one of those would be good. If the breathing feels a bit stuck, just very gently loosen it up a bit. Let it feel more flowing. Let the upper chest relax. Let the solar plexus relax. Let the lower belly and the lower back relax. So not to feel that the breath is static and the breath is actually holding tension, but the breath is flowing and pulsating. And also with your breathing, as gently as you can, if you're feeling something that's tight, something that feels dense, breathe spaciousness into it. What is more spacious than your breath? So allow the breath to have the function of bringing spaciousness to whatever feels tight. And just open and relax and soften. And of course, when we're, opening up this exploration into therapy, yoga, spiritual practice, of course, that's just linguistic convenience. That the yoga really always is an invitation to transcending the limits of language, the limits of concept, and just settling into a very simple recognition that we're always exactly where we need to be. We couldn't be anyplace else. And that happiness is just simply coming always back to where we are, back to our direct, immediate experience right here. So let us not get into these semantic spider webs, but just relax into the presence that's always accessible to us. And I do think, at least in my journey, that using spiritual practices really to gain clarity. It's never to disassociate. So it allows us on some level to let go of what we think we know or what we've been taught or what we hope and develop a genuine inner authority. This is the inner wisdom, is how to go directly there. And that's what I was saying earlier about the emotional intelligence of the digestive area, that we can't just take it for granted. We can't just continually stuff it, that we have to nurture it. We have to have a great clarity, that we have all of this somatic wisdom, this somatic intelligence. So our spiritual practice, just as a broad umbrella, whatever our practice, is ultimately to gain clarity. And we do this with just tremendous sensitivity, because at some point our practice is really no longer about more flexibility or more technique or more philosophy. It's about becoming more subtle and more sensitive, and trusting that then this inner work is really the guide. That this age-old wisdom that the teacher is within is actually true, but we have to cultivate it. We have to be very sensitive to what that really means. We have to learn how to listen very deeply. And this entails slowing down. This entails our capacity to relax and to cultivate a very intelligent relationship with all of the things physically and emotionally and psychologically that we're feeling. And of course, this can be very, very humbling. And so we get to add that to the list. Are we able to just embrace a simple humility so we can do this exploration? It's not extraordinary. We're not, yoga is not about cultivating a fantastical, mystical experience. It's about this simplicity, this humble simplicity of gaining clarity and sensitivity to then use that as a guide in whatever area we're open to exploring for the deepest sense of well-being we could possibly achieve. So let's begin to make this transition with the breath first. So if you're able to just hold your body in this stillness, I'd like you to just breathe in and breathe in as presence. So whatever that directs you to, just breathe in presence and breathe out presence. Breathe in energy. Breathe out energy. We're just being creative with the breath. We're moving it from just a purely physical to the visual, creative visualization, breathing energy, breathing out energy. And then the breath as yourself, however you define that, however expanded you could hold that. Just breathing in expanded sense of self, breathing out expanded sense of self. Not personality, not ego, not self-importance, but just breathing in yourself, breathing out yourself. And then let's have some movement. Let's place the feet firmly on the floor and take your time to move out of this. A good way, once you've got the feet on the floor and you've swayed the hips a bit, is just to roll over to the side if you're able to. Find something to put under your head, bring your knees up. So this just takes us into this very nice, gentle, mild forward bend. So if you can come into a fetal position, that's good. If you've got something that's more comfortable and feels safer, please feel free to do that as well. exploring your energies in new ways. What I particularly like about this text that I mentioned, the Handa Radam, is that um, being so simple and being so short, it's not suggesting that we have to try harder or seek more or do more austerities or be a better person or improve in any way. It's so beautiful in its simplicity. It's just a simple recognition of the reality that's right before us and how to open our eyes and to see that and see that we're not separate at all from any aspect of reality. So it's just so incredibly beautiful in that way. And the sutra, comes from this imagery that's very simple. It's just like sewing something together in this very simple way, not complicated, not elaborate. And this is primarily, why we do the asana. The asana is in some way just preparatory in terms of letting the body-mind relax, letting us have a space for ourselves where we can really explore the texture of whatever it is, instead of going on our old habits, our old conditioning, or taking someone else's word for it. To just back away from the complexities of how we've gotten tangled with the world and all the information, and just sit quietly with ourselves. So our body can relax and our heartbeat can relax and our brain waves can relax. And then we get to see sensation, emotion, feeling, perception, thinking. What is this? What am I? Who am I? And then the recognition that it is just simply as it is. It's not complicated. It's not esoteric. It's not mystical. It's just so beautiful. That this fabric, the fabric of consciousness, the fabric of awareness, the fabric of divine presence is literally who we are. And we look inside, that's who we are. But also, as we look outside, that's who we are. That the fabric is never broken. That the fabric is never separate. And so that simple recognition, this is the yoga. So let us come on up, please. And I would like to give you a choice of 3 forward bends. 3 forward bends. So, and we'll do both sides, so you can be assured of that. So the first one would be to bring the left leg in and to bring the right foot on top of the left calf to do a simple square pose. Yeah, we'll hold this and then we'll do the other side. So that would be your first choice. The second choice would be to extend the left leg out, bring the inside of the right foot on the inside of the left leg for our half butterfly pose and come forward. And again, we'll do both sides, very simple, with a nice rounded back. The third one would be to bring the bolster under the knees and bring the soles of the feet together. And so this is going to alleviate a lot of hip knee tension. And then when we switch sides, what we'll do is we'll move the bolster so you can go a little bit deeper into the hips and coming into it. So either one of those, a lot of hip stuff for this class. So this is just to kind of ease into a little above the hips and soften into the lower back. So let's begin that. So either left foot in front, right foot on top of left calf, left leg out, right foot on the inside of the left leg, or the bolster, or you could put the blankets, obviously, or the pillows under the knees, and we'll just come forward. Very, very soft. Yes, we want to soften the sponge before we start to work into the netting around the intrinsic back muscles. So soften the muscles, let the upper body relax, and just come forward. And I think ultimately, and I say this with great, sincerity and humility, and also with a great sense of realizing I'm still in this exploration myself, but I do suspect that ultimately we do these practices to see that we don't need to do these practices. And so the practices definitely have value, but we want to, this is what I'm saying, the importance of the clarity and the sensitivity. We don't want to think that the practices are the awakening. We don't want to think that the practices are the reality. Yes, the practices are just allowing us the capacity, the safety to awaken to what's right in front of us, to awaken to the actuality of direct experience. And this is very tricky. It's very, very tricky. It's a beautiful thing to even be able to hold this, because it gives us so much freedom and possibility to explore without having to cling. So whatever it is we're exploring, we also want to be always checking in. Is this really serving me? Is this practice, whatever it is this really helping me to cultivate a deep sense of well-being and clarity and sensitivity? If it is, we do it. If we're not sure, then we're open to modifying it. If it's not, we either modify it or we change and let go of the practice and see how that goes. And I don't just mean what we would classically call spiritual practices, I mean that just in the fabric of life. So whichever version of this forward bend, and let's come on up. And we're going to switch it up. So if you have the square position with the right leg on top, you can just switch that up, yes. And you can put the right leg in and the left leg on top of that right calf. If you had the left leg extended and the right foot in, obviously change that. And what I'm suggesting is if you did have the larger bolstering under the knees, if you would like, you can remove that and come into the second part of your forward bend without it. And then obviously if you need some help under the thighs for the hips, just bolster up as, that goes without saying, to bolster up as necessary so you can be in an appropriate position for you. So let's go back to imagining some qualities with our breathing. And just do this in a very expansive, open-ended way. Just sort of creatively visualize and sort of feel this. We're always having the opportunity to, deepen our, just our relationship with the qualities of the breath. So let's just softly inhale all effort. Just inhale your effort. And exhale no effort. Again, inhale all of your effort in the pose in your mind, in your life. And exhale no effort at all. Just let it drain. Let it sift away. Inhale, I am solid. Feel your sense of solidity on the inhale. Exhale, I am empty. Inhale, I am solid. Exhale, I am emptiness. Inhale, I am everything. Exhale, I am nothing. Inhale, I am everything. Exhale, I am nothing. So let's come on up, whichever forward bend you happen to be in. And let's come on down and just take a few moments of rest in Shavasana. So untangle yourself, make yourself comfortable, and we'll take some time here to rest. Please feel free to stay in your Shavasana if you would like. If you would like to sit up with me, just start to relax your breath, move your body a bit, and slowly make your way to a comfortable seated position, and we will close our exploration of yoga. Let our yoga reinforce within each of us a deep sense of wonder. Namaste.